I was going to sit down and film a presentation about a concept that I've really been developing over the last couple of months in particular about why I think it's really important that you don't just build a business, but you build an empire. Okay, that may sound a little bit weird, may sound a little bit strange. You might be going, Jacob, what the fuck are you talking about? But bear with me. Okay, I was going to sit down and, like I've done for the last few videos and like I've done with videos in the past, pull together some keynote slides and talk through this. But just yesterday, I hosted my monthly call for a program that I run called the Lifestyle Business Academy. This is for people who want to build a business like what I have developed over the last few years, where they've got a personal brand, they can monetize their intellectual property, their skills, their expertise, their knowledge in different ways, and they want to keep it really lean and simple because they value building a very enjoyable lifestyle at the same time as making money through their business. And on this call, I explained this in a way that I was pretty happy with. It's a tricky topic to articulate. And so I figured rather than recreate this, I'd just cut over to that part of the call where I go into this topic of empire building, which for me is going to be a significant part of my mindset and the thought paradigms around what I do inside and outside the business heading into the new year. So I'm going to cut over to that now. I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Cheers. All of us have different buckets of responsibility that we're required to manage. What that looks like for each person is going to vary. As I sit here, I need to look after myself, my head, physical, etc., health. I've got Liana, who I support. I've got Hendrik. There's another one coming in March. I financially support my granddad in a really big way. I provide, I think, pretty significant, I don't want to use the word emotional support, but my family and I are really close. And so I think I feel a responsibility to, really be there for them, my parents especially, consistently. I've got the business, which includes clients, you guys, my one-to-one clients, partners I work with, pretty much anyone who gives me money. I feel a responsibility to them in some way, shape, or form. I've got a responsibility to manage the finances that I've accumulated over the years for future me and all those people. There's all these buckets of responsibility. And I had a moment about a month ago where my granddad's been ill. He's got prostate cancer. And both my parents have different forms of blood cancer. Last time Pop was in hospital, I called the ambulance. I got over there on a Friday night. I've been looking after Hendrik, finished business, looked after Hendrik, got over there, and he was really dizzy. And I caught him before he fell. Got the ambos, got him to hospital. Anyway, we ended up in there for 3 weeks and got him home. Like we got him through another episode, got him home. And I literally get home from that and I sit down on the bed and I'm just cooked. And like life doesn't stop when these other things happen, right? Like everything else keeps going. And I get a call from mum. And she's been managing her condition for quite a long time. And she's like, hey, look, I didn't want to worry you, but she gets monthly blood tests. She's like, look, hematologist has just called and there's been a change. Like what was working is not working anymore. And this is like fucking within an hour of getting home from getting Pop back from hospital. And I had a little like mini meltdown because in those moments you're like, what the fuck? Like why? Like why? Right? Good people. Anyway, that's life. And the reason I tell you all that is because it becomes very hard when you list out all those responsibilities, especially in those moments, to keep everything in balance and to keep juggling everything. And so what I often seek, particularly in those times, is mental frameworks and mental paradigms to initially get me through those periods. But then in some cases they stick and can really help me move forward. And so what's been on my mind a lot lately is this idea of building an empire as opposed to building a business. I did a video about this that I put on my Facebook profile. The audio was shit because I was down in Sydney Harbour, and so I didn't put it on YouTube. But for me, this has been a big light bulb, and I'm sharing this with you guys in real time to a degree. So I hope the crudity of it doesn't weaken the message. With all these different things to manage, being a dad, clients, parents, grandparents, trying to get to the gym, keep this somewhat clear and ticking, because my brain is my income source, right? It's my experience, my intellectual property, the things that like I need to keep this somewhat clear. And when you list out all those things and try and manage them individually, especially in those times, it becomes very, very challenging. And so, where this mental frame for me has become very quickly very powerful, this allows me to look at everything holistically as opposed to juggling 10 different buckets. It's purely a perspective. There is some practical application, but it is a way of thinking about this, which is these aren't 10 different things that I'm dealing with. If I sit back and I look out at the world that I've both been born into and created, this is my empire and all those different elements that fall onto it. It's a thought pattern that allows me to look at it collectively and manage it collectively, as opposed to trying to manage 15 different things. That may hit, that may not hit. For me, it's been a big, it's not a weight off because you're still managing it all, but it's put my mind at ease to a degree. And so I started thinking about this a lot. And the further I've gone down this thought pattern, the more and more I've kind of fallen in love with it over the last month. It's very easy to focus 100% on this. And I realize this is why you guys are here for the most part. And so I don't want to, go too off topic. But if all your time and your energy goes into that one thing, by virtue of that, all the other areas are going to take a hit. And so the big mindset for me for the new year, with the challenges that are going to come up, is looking at things as a whole, as one whole enterprise, as opposed to a lot of different little things that I have to try and juggle. And if you come in and read this article, I think it will really hit. It articulates it probably better than I can with words. But I think if we try to take this concept one step deeper, what I think we do to a degree in life is we put a hierarchy on our time and on our energy, based on probably a few variables, but it's based on what's the most immediately pressing. Money for some reason always flies to the top because it's critical. I get that. And there's definitely going to be times where you need to prioritize. But for me, I want to ensure that I'm leveling that hierarchy in terms of my time and energy so that they all get requisite attention in the new year. Because if I'm the king of my empire, I can't put all my energy into building this lavish palace or managing our imports and exports, while on this side our defenses have been left completely vulnerable and there's people in this part of the village that don't have food. And do you know what I mean? Like if you're in charge of a full enterprise, you need to give your attention and your energy to all of it. You can't just go, well, I'll deal with that next week, because that has consequence. And so that's how I'm really trying to frame my thinking heading into the new year, is this more holistic approach, viewing the elements as interconnected as opposed to individual buckets that I have to try and jump between while the others burn. These are very early thoughts that I'm sharing with you, so I hope that's okay. But I think there's something substantial here. We can talk a little bit about the dangers of it, but I think because you're here, we can all agree that this is pretty important. For true success, we need all these things humming along. I think this is a good example. A morning workout builds your health and your energy. That allows you to go and do all of the other things. Family time recharges you. Content expands the influence. They all have a purpose. So we need to seek balance. The other thing that's been spinning around in my head a lot lately, sometimes when I'm at the gym, I listen to those like motivational compilations on YouTube. Quite often you've got people in there who are quote unquote successful, usually in a financial capacity or at least in an influence capacity. And they're talking about going all in on the business. And I used to admire that. I used to think that was really admirable because they had the focus, the determination, the ruthlessness. What's coming up for me more and more these days, and this is definitely a byproduct of being a dad, I actually think that's the weakest thing that you can do, because what you're doing is you're intentionally neglecting all the other areas. And I don't say weak to insult, but I think it's the easy option. We glorify all in on one thing, and I've done it too. But if you believe our time and our energy is capped at 100% of whatever the overall unit is, if you're all in, there's things that are burning and are suffering at the same time. And so that doesn't impress me anymore. I actually think it's not just selfish, because you need to be selfish at times. It's people say choose your hard. Life's going to be hard regardless. Shit happens. Pick the difficulties that you want, or they say nothing worth doing is ever going to be easy. And then that's usually followed up with this like all in advice, which I actually think is taking the easy way out, because it would be so easy for me to sit in here for 12 hours a day. That's not hard to do. I can get Uber Eats. I can sit on my ass. I can click the mouse. That's fucking easy. That's the easiest option. Yet that's the one that gets glorified as what you need to do or what you should do. Like, to me, it is a significantly larger and as a result more fulfilling challenge to find a way to make all the buckets work. It's a bit of a practical exercise that you can do. Look at those different areas, identify the gaps, and then find a way that you can integrate them where possible. There's definitely going to be seasons where certain things are going to get more and less attention. I think be wary of neglecting things in full, because there's certain things that will cause irreparable and or terminal damage. And you don't want to wake up in a couple of years and go, fuck, I actually had it all along. One other point on this, I mentioned the word responsibility. As part of all of this thinking, the other thing that's been spinning around is, as all these things happen and as you take on more incremental responsibility, I think the default reaction is not, I don't know if negative is the right word, but it's like stress and maybe worry or anxiety, or it's definitely not positive usually. But the other thing that I've been thinking, and this is so much of what we do, it just comes down to your perspective and paradigms and how you look at, like, none of this fundamentally changes how you go about building your business, except for maybe a few less hours. But how you look at the world is so critical. You can take two people, put them in front of, they could both look out the window here. I might go, there's so much opportunity, there's so much abundance. Look, there's probably $50 billion worth of real estate in this window. And someone else might go, look how fucking dirty the roof of that car park is. Right? Like, it's perspective. It's huge. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about how I look at business and how I look at these broader concepts. But this concept of or responsibility, the other thing that's been spinning around in my head a lot is, yes, I have a lot of responsibility, but the reason that I have that responsibility and the reason that more comes to me is because I'm capable. The reason people either pay me or come to me for help, or the reason that, Liana is here, is because I'm capable. And that is a very positive thing. That is a very encouraging, empowering, uplifting thing. And so it's a perspective shift from, oh my God, all this responsibility. And responsibility and obligation are two very different things. I'm not talking about obligation, but this allows me to look at it as, this is a sign that I'm moving in the right direction and that I'm improving and that I'm becoming more and more capable, because more and more responsibility is coming my way. If I wasn't, it wouldn't. So that's just another thought under this bucket. I know that's a bit all over the place, but it all does kind of come together. That's some thoughts around mindset that I'm taking into the new year.